Welcome to Inspired Edinburgh. Powerful conversations helping you reconnect with your purpose. I'm Elliot Reeves, and my guests today are Michael Cockburn and Steve Jeans. Michael and Steve are the founders of Shoal, a co-working platform that connects entrepreneurs at a deeper level through the sharing of spaces and resources on a global scale. Gents, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
Pleasure to be here, Elliot.
Great. I'm really glad that we got this together, and I'm looking forward to diving deep into conversation with you.
Great. We are equally looking forward to it.
Yeah. Say so. It's taken us a while to arrange this.
That introduction.
It's here now, though.
Introduction,
it's here.
yeah. We need to get you to write little blurbs on the website, because you just summarize Shoal in a way that we simply cannot.
Did you write that? Or
It was. I think it was semi-plagiarized, but
it was good.
I thought it got
Take
good.
notes from that.
Yeah, we will. We'll watch it back and we'll plagiarize off yours from the plagiarism. And
Thus you can see where we're at and everything else.
Perfect. So, for our kind of viewing audience or people listening to this, it would be great if we could just start with a little bit of context and background around, where you guys are originally from, what you were kind of like growing up, and just a little bit of context.
Right. Okay.
where would you like us to start?
Yeah.
Perhaps motion to one of us and say, Michael, perhaps you could tell me about yourself.
You can kick things off. I like what you did there.
So a little bit of context about Michael Cockburn. So I grew up in South Queensferry predominantly.
Mm-hmm.
Went to South Queensferry High School, fairly normal set of affairs, and I left school at 15, which isn't so normal actually. So I left school at 15 to become a joiner. And actually that period of my life was like one of the most blissful periods, because I was 15, everyone else was going back to school, or like after the exams, like starting the next again year, and I was playing golf because I had nothing else to do, quite frankly, because I was starting work experience as a joiner, and so yeah, it was straight into the deep end, I think, onto a building site. Which was, it sort of opened my eyes to the real world, I suppose, at an early age, which was great. And I remember I got paid in £100 note every week.
Seriously?
Yeah, £100 note every week. So I was like, wow.
Big money.
So, yeah, I think I broke one of them and then kept a few. So, and like no concept of really like, so I was really good with money back then, because it was like big units of notes that I had to deal with. So I thought that I came from a paper round salary of £12 a week to £100 note a week, which was like, that was
high roller stuff.
Yeah. And I think my boss would agree that I wasn't doing much to help, other than I should have stuck to my paper round when I was 15. But no, that was like my extreme background where it all begun. And so I worked as a joiner with a couple of companies. One of the companies was there was a bad winter in 2009, and we lost a load of work, and that meant I had to find another job. So I found another job, got out my apprenticeship, and went, I'm just going to start a business, because I started doing sort of homers, like work on the side every evening. So that was like the start of thinking, actually I could just do this myself. So
really?
I started my own business at 19, and that was really there's loads of mistakes made, and still loads of mistakes being made, but especially then you've no idea what you're doing. I was putting like money into my personal account. You're not meant to do that, by the way. And every mistake in a book. So yeah, that was another great like in the deep end learning experience. So
Definitely.
Stephen.
Yeah, good intro.
It's a really
Steve.
good background. I wish you had shared that with me at some point. I had no idea that you were that interesting.
Good thing we're doing this, Steve. All you need is some lights, many lights.
3 years down the line, and now I know everything about you. It's great. I'm from Inverness, despite the accent. A lot of people think that I'm from America. I've had Spanish one time. I don't think I sound like a Spanish person. But yes, from Inverness. I have an engineering background. I've got a master's in engineering, studied in Dundee, went into the offshore industry for 2 years when I graduated. Did an offshore, a graduate graduate scheme, you know, a development scheme, not an offshore development scheme. I suppose it's kind of that, and I've always wanted to have my own business or run my own business. I've always been looking at sort of ways that I can make a little bit of money on the side and things. Even as a kid, when I was in primary school, primary sort of 4 to 6, I'd say, I sold toys that I made for myself, and I bought, or made by myself, sorry, not made for myself, because there would be very little profit in that. I made by myself, and that was great. I bought my first TV at that age. They were so popular that the mums of the kids in the school got together and made the teachers ban my toys. So, you know, there was a level of possibly health and safety going on there, but generally the parents were aware that their kids were spending all their pocket money.
What toys were they, Steve?
They were
banning these toys.
They were bugs, actually. I got a bug maker for Christmas one year. It was like an easy bake oven, and you got these molds, and you could design these bugs, and I would take orders for the colors. You know, they take a scorpion, for example. Somebody would come in and ask for a scorpion with red claws and a green tail, a black body, and next day I would bring it into school and I'd sell it for 20p or something. But you sell enough of those, then you can buy a TV. And I felt pretty good about that. And then sort of drifted away from that sort of enterprising, entrepreneurial type mindset as when I had as a kid. Always wanted to come back to it, so I moved to Edinburgh in 2014. Met Michael at the sort of tail end of that year, and then the rest has kind of been history. Really,
pretty beautiful.
What's really interesting is your backgrounds probably couldn't have been more different if you tried. And I suspect, I mean, knowing you both reasonably well, your personality types are quite different as well. And I think that's one of the great things, that you both kind of complement each other.
We complete each other.
You complete each other, absolutely.
In ways we can't see on camera. No, that totally works. That bringing different things to the table and having and sort of chalk and cheese backgrounds.
Absolutely. So how did your paths originally converge, and what was it you were? I'll be careful what I say here. I don't want to say doing together, but you know, in a business sense, what were you sort of thinking that you would do collaboratively? We couldn't have planned how it happened. Actually, in fact, when people ask, how did you meet? It's like I don't know. We sound like a married couple. Like, you tell it better, Stephen. We met in a co-working space. It's called Desk Union, and a lot of the people in Edinburgh know the legacy of Desk Union. There's a really great community there, and we both came from completely different angles to Desk Union as well. And we met at a coffee machine in Desk Union. Really?
Our hands reached for the last Nespresso capsule, and you know, love guys. It didn't happen that way, but we met at the coffee machine. We got chatting, and quite quickly realised that we had a lot of shared interests, sort of more on a social, personal level. And then it sort of got into our business interests, and Michael had Ivero at the time.
Ivero, yes, a very badly spelled business name for everybody that did business with me.
It's a challenging one, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's one of them ones you have to spell.
So we just got chatting, and we decided we jumped over to Fortitude Coffee, or the cafe there, and we chatted some more about general vision. You had a business idea that you wanted to run by me. I was touching upon renewable energy, sustainability and stuff. My parents had sort of filed for a wind farm, so they were in the planning stages, and Michael thought it was kind of interesting that I was interested in that. We went for coffee, decided that we were going to pursue a project together in some form, or certainly talk about a project a bit more.
Really interesting conversation. We left the coffee shop and went, what was your name again? We
were exchanging
Steve,
numbers.
Okay,
that embarrassing moment, like, dude, what's your name? It was really odd, but and from there we didn't pursue that, but we set up another business called Brexiter and Chapman, which we never ended up doing anything with, but we set up Aura. To fund Brexiter and Chapman, and then Aura became our main thing quite quickly, because we found that we could actually make money from Aura, which is really useful for staying alive.
So what is Aura?
So Aura, I suppose, like so Evero was what I was doing when Steve and I met, which was like building surveying, I suppose, energy surveying of buildings. I've always been interested that the business idea that I'd had was off the back of being immersed in that renewable energy industry. And generally, I came from joinery to the renewable energy industry through, I suppose, building the energy surveying, and thinking that maybe I want to change from the decision I made when I was 15 might not be the thing I want to do when I'm 40. So when I was 21, 20 or something, started doing the energy surveying, and that sort of grew, expanded and contracted regularly over the challenges that you face running a business. And Steve's background was very complementary to that sort of like land surveying, engineering side of things, and we thought, well, we've got this Braxton and Chapman thing, we're just collecting business names, so we're just starting legal entities and shutting them down. There's no
That's not what's happening, by the way,
but so we can utilise his background, my current business, bring them together, and we created Aura Survey, which is still going, and we do. It allows us to pursue what is now Shoal, and we'll get to that in a minute, obviously. But it's given us that foundation to be creative and sustain ourselves at the same time.
Yeah.
And do.
So where did the idea for Shoal first come about, and perhaps worth giving some granularity as to what Shoal is and how it kind of works?
Yeah. So having run a business since the age of 19 and always been just working from home until I went to Desk Union. It's a fairly lonely experience sometimes, especially if you're sitting in the office, like the bedroom, all day doing your accounts or whatever. It's a very isolated situation, and I know that strikes a chord with a lot of people. And so from the age of 19 to 24 when Shoal started, working mostly from home, and Desk Union shut. And when Desk Union shut, that whole community that we'd built up around us, it sort of dissipated. So you would always go in there, check in with everybody that's like on that same journey. And I remember, I think we share this experience of walking in Desk Union, you've met a group of people that you feel like you belong to. You're like, oh right, you also,
crazy enough to have started your own business.
Exactly, yeah, crazy enough to start your own business, but also the tiny little things that it's so great to have things that don't seem important that you can talk about that are really fundamental to your journey, I suppose. So that was dissipating as Desk Union shut, and back into the kitchen table. So that's that was the sort of light bulb moment, like back in the table thinking, everything is actually 80% of the reason why people use co-working spaces is community. And I totally felt that we both shared that experience. So one day, speaking to a friend of mine who's a contractor for a bank called Leisure, Leisure and I were moaning about the challenges that we face working from home. And there's like procrastination, feeling isolated, going to the fridge several times a day, making too many cups of tea, and
that's the clean version.
That's the clean version. I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, well, I've got a coffee maker. I was like, well, I'll bring some soup. Great, let's work together tomorrow from her place. Perfect. And she bailed on me, which is very nice of her, thanks. And I found myself walking back up to the coffee shop that I worked from a lot, Fortitude, actually. And thought, we just now, there's a common theme here, which is that, it was so empowering meeting all these other people on a similar journey, doing different things, but on a similar journey. And we're all moaning about the same things as well, which is, coffee shops only, or, you have to pay quite a lot for co-working space, and working from home is really isolating and it's challenging. So I thought, why don't we just share everything. You know, there's nothing stopping. We've got all the resources. Why don't we just share these resources? So I set up a Facebook group called The Lonely Entrepreneur, which is on retrospect quite a sad name. But it's The Lonely Entrepreneur was me basically saying to a few people that from Desk Union, why don't we work together from our own homes? If you've got a space, share it on the Facebook group. And here's my kitchen table. Let's work from my kitchen table. And fairly instantly, that kind of took off. We had like 4 spaces in the first day. So there's like 2 offices and a house, and I thought, great. So now all of a sudden, all these people can work from all these different places. Isn't that great? And it totally exploded. I phoned Steve. I phoned Steve. I was like, Steve, I've done something.
I was on site at this time with a client. I remember exactly who it was and where I was. Mike's like, have you been on Facebook yet? If you check Facebook, like, hey, no, I'm with a client just now. I'll give you a phone later. And I was driving back into Edinburgh. Phone goes again. It's Michael. Hey man, have you been on Facebook yet? I've done something. What have you done? No, just check Facebook. I'm driving, I can't. And I walked into my flat and my phone connected to Wi-Fi and it went crazy, you know. It was just notification after notification. I was like, shit, Mike's done something. What's he done?
And that was the start of The Lonely Entrepreneur, and we thought, oh God, if we don't do this, somebody's going to do it. This idea of some kind of platform to kind of essentially the couch surfing. Yes. We're all familiar with couch surfing. Essentially, couch surfing for freelancers and startups. And that it was as simple as that. So we set about trying to create that, and that was a year and a half ago. So
somehow.
So God, we were saying that today. Like, I can't believe it's been 1 year and 6 months. Like, that's crazy. It still feels like it's brand new. It feels like we've not really started yet.
Still very much is, because it went from being a secondary focus, like a passion project, and we were doing Aura 5 days a week. Shoal, once a week we would get together on a Friday, and that was our Shoal day, and we would switch it about if we couldn't do Fridays. And now the balance is sort of tipped, and Shoal's becoming almost our primary thing, but it's just about sort of getting it over the line and giving it the focus that it deserves, because if we don't, as Michael mentioned, somebody's going to, and you know, we're sort of excited to be on that journey and then trying to create something from a Facebook group called the pessimistically named Lonely Entrepreneur.
There's something so beautiful though how simple that was. The market research wasn't intended market research. It was just like, oh, I really hate working from home on my own every day. And so do you. So let's help each other, sort of thing. And
worked really well, didn't it? It's just, we hadn't intended to do anything with it. Certainly you hadn't with the Facebook group. Just makes sense. Get together, work from each other's places. Everyone's got Wi-Fi, tea and coffee, you know. The only thing that's missing is other people in company. But we had done the market research, or you pretty much had done, you know, while I was on site, you know, with the client. And then, I remember just getting back that night and thinking, what will we do? Will we make this a thing, or just leave it as a Facebook group? And then a couple of people got in touch and gave us the sort of encouragement to really pursue it. And
it is. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, obviously, I know firsthand what it's like to host a show, to have people.
Very grateful.
You're absolutely welcome.
Space.
It is. Exactly. It's fantastic, and it's such a good opportunity to meet some just really interesting people doing some pretty incredible things. From the sort of journey that you've been on, then, I mean, what advice would you give to people in early stage businesses that are perhaps looking for mentorship, support, funding? You know, based on your own experience.
I think Desk Union showed that quite clearly. It's doable on your own. You know, starting a business you can definitely start a business on your own. I did it when I was 19, but as soon as I connected into a community of like-minded people on a similar journey, not doing the same thing, it became so much easier, and it was a lighter experience because of that feeling of belonging. Which is so often missed by people that start their own small businesses. So I think that the first bit of advice and it is kind of a bit of, it's not intended to be promotional for Shoal, but I genuinely believe that surrounding yourself with a support network is where you should start. Finding the other people that are running businesses, going to networking events. One of our sort of goals with Shoal is to make networking more about connection with other people rather than it be about swapping business cards. And that's because that's kind of, we go to networking events and we've got genuinely good friends from it. You know, not contacts. That you go for beer with them, not to talk business, but to talk about life, you know, and that's so far more important than starting with the traditional channels are 100% useful and needed, but that social element and sort of support group is as important, if not more important, to the human being running the business. I'd say.
And that's what Edinburgh does really well. When I came to Edinburgh, mentioned before, sort of tail end of 2014, had an idea that I wanted to pursue, and it was a seed of an idea at the time, and the oil and gas industry was sort of on the decline. I sort of took a gamble, said I'd give myself a year to pursue something, see what I can make of it in that year. Worst case scenario, I go back to my job. But I think the day I moved to Edinburgh, the day after, I went to a startup grind event. I remember walking into the room full of faces I didn't know, and I hadn't really networked before either. So that was daunting. It was intimidating. And somebody, I think it was the person who was talking that night, started speaking to me, and I of course didn't realize that it was the person that was talking, but I knew she had this air of being important. And she said, so what is it you do? And I completely froze up, because at that time I didn't really do anything. And I said, I'm an absolute imposter here. So I tried to give her what was just a bastardized version of an elevator pitch, but it was just rubbish, really.
Can you please give us that?
I couldn't,
it's
even
like
if
Uber,
I tried.
but it's kind of like Airbnb as well.
It was worse than that probably too. And I felt really uncomfortable. But by the end of the night, I left on such a high, because despite the fact that I was somebody who just stepped in from the streets really with a seed of an idea, I left feeling completely welcome. And like I kind of just sort of got it. I was like, this is a really cool environment, and I just couldn't wait for the next one. And you know, it's just I've seen almost that at nearly every event we go to in Edinburgh. We go to a lot of events together, and that's magic. You know, I love that.
Yeah. I think genuinely there is something kind of special about the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Edinburgh specifically. I think it is really brilliant. There's a lot of people doing some really cool stuff.
Undoubtedly, and sort of bringing it back to your initial question as well, that somewhere like Edinburgh makes it very easy to surround yourself by the right support system. You know, and you need that. Embarking on the journey of setting up your own business alone, or even with a business partner, if you kind of are sheltered and you're sheltered underneath your own idea and your own kind of aspirations, without sharing it or sharing the pitfalls and the hardship of setting up a business with those that are doing it or have done it, then it's gonna be a much more difficult journey.
I think as well, a lot of people expect a definition of success to happen overnight, and to I think a common misconception is if you start a business you make loads of money, and that is certainly important. I think it's important to make money from running a business. This is fundamental to make it sustainable. However, it really doesn't happen overnight, and if it's really for you, it's not about fundamentally the money. And the pursuit of building something that you have a vision for should, for me, be at the forefront of what motivates you to start a business. Because, well, we've been going a year and a half with Shoal, and it's really not going to take off overnight. And if it did, it would die because we don't have the infrastructure. It wouldn't have the infrastructure and the systems to make it scale. You know, and I think that's the same for many businesses. So Yeah, and one big thing for me that got me through a lot of hard times was listening to, I know there's almost everyone listens to the Gary Vaynerchuk and Tony Robbins and all these characters, and there's positives and negatives to take from them. But certainly, I think Steve and I listen to a lot of Tony Robbins, and when the shit hits the fan, and you need to find some kind of inspiration, and you have to find an example of who's gone before. Researching these journeys really shows you that, no, actually I'm going to have to work my ass off for 5 years, 10 years. So all the people that are telling you when you start your business that sounds like a shit idea, you're like, well, no, actually I can see it working. I've got a vision. I know I'm not going to make money overnight, and it's going to take me 5-10 years to really make it work. And that's the journey we're on anyway. As this is the advice to myself, I suppose, because we're still at the very beginning of that journey, but that's certainly our intention, is to keep working and be open to adapting it to make it work.
I like it. So what is the big vision for Shoal? Where do you see it going?
The big vision for us, we have the big vision, the bigger vision, and then the grand vision, and probably another one after that too.
To take over the world.
But really, what we want to do for the now, certainly our first vision, is to take what we've created and everything we've learned from the great community that we've been building, and sort of aligning ourselves with and aligning that community with the Shoal concept. We've learned a lot. We pushed an MVP out in open waters and just got everyone to fire shots it and tell us what we've missed, what we need to build, and so on. And that's a sensible thing to do, rather than building what we think everyone needs. And finding that they need half of what we've built and the other half is completely missed, and we need to eventually build that. So once we get to that point, we're building the new platform at the moment. Our sort of immediate sort of grand vision is to have a Shoal ecosystem in every major city in the world, meaning that anyone who's a member of Shoal or who uses Shoal can step onto or jump onto a plane and fly to Berlin, San Francisco, London, wherever they want to be, have community to work with and spaces to work from.
And I suppose that's already pretty big, and but I think we've got no end to the because
other galaxies.
We think the potential, the ideas, and what it fundamentally is about. And like what that entrepreneurship encapsulates, and encouraging a community to help one another and give each other a leg up. So we really want to inspire people to do what they love for a living, and that's so many people's vision. But it's certainly if we can build a system that can help people do what they love for a living, that would be a really great thing to build.
On that note as well, another sort of a big challenge of starting your own business is there are so many great resources out there, but how would you find them? Which ones can you tap into? And there's nothing really that we found that sort of aggregates those resources and makes it very easy to tap into them. We've learned of the resources on our journey, and there's still many more that we're inevitably going to have to discover. But something we'd like to do with Shoal is to really sort of assist in the growth of everyone's, their project, their business, their, even if they're freelancer, just help them in their journey, and that will be supported by the community as well. Not just what we can provide, but working with others.
A big part of how we're doing Shoal is collaboration, and I suppose that that you've been hosting Shoal, and we're sort of friends, I suppose, now, and we can say, oh, Elliot, we'll help you with this, you help us with that. We're trying to be as collaborative as possible, and saying like the aggregating of all the support networks. I know that Bruce Walker and Adam Purvis are doing some great work in that area, and it's not about fulfilling other parts of, like, they're aggregating it all. They've got a great meeting that happens once every couple of months, bringing all these support networks together, and that's really the work that they're doing is absolutely amazing. We want to complement that in any way we can, and complement all the work that these other organizations are doing in any way we can.
Absolutely.
So finding where we can add value, and I think a big part of where we think we can add value is that human connection element and bringing bits together to form things that will add value.
Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. I love it, genuinely. I think what you're doing is tremendous.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's great.
You think what you're doing is amazing. But we're what you're doing. So I don't know how. It's a bit egotistical. Yeah.
I really like to talk to you a bit about, I suppose, entrepreneurship. You know, this is kind of a hot topic at the moment. There's a few kind of diverging views potentially about what entrepreneurship is or why people do it. What does entrepreneurship mean to you?
Interesting.
Yeah, so Elliot gives you a quick idea of what he's going to ask you, and I think we both Googled the definition of entrepreneurship. Right?
I used the dictionary. I went old school.
Well, that is reflected in your jacket, my friend. I'm joking.
Thanks.
No, it's a nice jacket. No, it is a nice jacket. I'm just jealous. So the dictionary definition is very simplistic. Like it's like taking risks in order to creating businesses and taking risks to make money. Essentially, that's the basic definition.
Oxford definition, isn't it? Collins was a business person who tries to make profit through risk and initiative. Yeah. So, but that's a very, very open-ended and vague interpretation.
And I don't think that is really, if people that do that don't always identify as an entrepreneur. And I remember when I joined Desk Union, there's all these entrepreneurs, and I ran a survey company and I had a couple of subcontractors and everything. I didn't think I was an entrepreneur. And it's really hard to pin down what. Yeah, I'd like to think it's my embodiment of being an entrepreneur is looking at systems, thinking of new innovative ways to improve systems and actually doing it and making it sustainable through profit. I think that's maybe what I want to be as an entrepreneur. But if somebody else wants to make it that they want to start an entity that does X and they want to call themselves an entrepreneur and they're taking risks and following that dictionary definition, then I think that's absolutely fine. I'd like to think it's improving systems through making them sustainable through profit.
Elliot, your definition when we were chatting before the interview was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, I just think that there's a lot of kind of flimsy ways to support the idea of an entrepreneur, whereas in my personal opinion, it's really about somebody who can create businesses and replicate that and do it continually and be proven and successful in doing it. When you look at somebody like a Richard Branson, you know, he really is the sort of epitome of an entrepreneur because he's done it time and time again, and that is now his brand. I think somebody who just simply starts a kind of one-man band business simply for the sake of being an entrepreneur, it's not really the most compelling why, is it?
Because it feels like an exciting place to be, and you know, it's
yeah, I think a lot of it's probably born out of kind of ego and significance rather than it is because of kind of growth and or contribution. You know, which are.
I think if you're starting a business because you want to be an entrepreneur, that's because of the sort of social opinion of an entrepreneur. I think that's the totally the wrong reason. Certainly, in my experience, I didn't start a business because I wanted to be an entrepreneur, or even that I wanted to start a business. I just thought this makes sense to me. It feels right. I don't want to work for that guy anymore. I'll just work for myself. It's as simple as that. And then from then, I don't know. It's never been about the badge. You know, although I use the badge. I would say like I wouldn't give my job title as an entrepreneur.
Same. For me, it was slightly different. I had this sort of enterprising mindset as a kid. My folks have always had their own businesses, and they've never been, you know, they don't run Airbnb or Uber or Virgin, you know, and they've been very successful in their own right, and their business, their attitude to business and supporting themselves was really a big influencer to me. And then I kind of lost that through later life and going to university and going into my job, and then start up and entrepreneurship became very sexy, very almost celebrity. And I think that's what drew me back in. You know, I sort of went, you know, oh, it'd be pretty cool to be, I don't know, trying to desperately think of a cool entrepreneur. Elon Musk, okay? I by no means think of myself as an Elon Musk, but certainly him being at the sort of helm of entrepreneurialism, it sort of drew me back, and I thought that'd be cool. You know, how hard can it be to start your own business? I think I left my job for all the wrong reasons, but then I quickly, my sort of morals and intention shifted, and it became less about the glamour, less about the profit, because I realized that it's going to be a bloody long time before, you know, if I ever am truly successful as an entrepreneur, it's going to be a while. I started to take a huge amount of value and worth from just creating something and being part of something day to day, waking up in the morning and going, okay, we're doing something pretty cool here. I might have an hour job and we go and overfly a drone over a big quarry site with our pilot, a great guy called Paul Georgie, or, you know, we're doing some laser scanning or something. Good plug for Paul. Or we could be doing some laser scanning in a church or something like that, and that's pretty cool in itself. And that's almost our bar job or our coffee shop job to support ourselves. You know, we can do that once a week and still see a salary at the end of the month, and focus on Shoal, which is our passion, and being able to do that because we've designed that for ourselves and created a system that enables that. That's really rewarding, and if anything else comes of it, great, and if it doesn't, then we're enjoying the journey at the moment. So why change that? Just keep aiming for that sort of a big vision at the end, you know, and hopefully we get there by enjoying the journey.
Absolutely.
I think it's seen one of Gavin Bell's vlogs on my newsfeed. I think everybody in Edinburgh is at the moment. And I didn't watch it all. I just watched the start of it, and he said, "I love Mondays." And I was like, "Is that the definition of like?" Because I kind of like Mondays. It's like, oh, fresh start. You know, what am I doing this week? It's kind of fun, and that sort of polarizes like the general conception of what a Monday is to so many people. And that's quite empowering. You know, but I think the beauty in that isn't the entrepreneurship part of it. Is take the entrepreneurship bit out of it, and you can totally achieve that through anything you're doing. You can be employed by a bank and love what you do. You use that
in
term.
a sense,
You can just be somebody that loves what they do. If you love walking dogs and you're employed by a dog walker, that is I think there's as much merit in that. That as starting business and becoming an entrepreneur.
I had a great conversation whilst buying a meal deal today before coming over here in an establishment that I shan't name, just in case the person I had the conversation with so happens to see this, which may or may not happen. But I said the system was going slow. She was trying to ring the sandwich and juice and crisps through the checkout, and it just wasn't working. And I made a sort of joke about must know it's Monday, and she's like, "Oh Christ, I hate Mondays." But that said, I hate every working day, and I kind of laughed it off and said, "Haha, don't we all?" But I was thinking to myself, no, I really don't. You know, I work most weekends, at least one day of most weekends. Not because I've got quite a lot to do, so that's part of it, but mostly is because I really enjoy doing what I'm doing. And
you didn't say that to her, did you?
No.
Here, I love
the cue behind me.
What's wrong with you?
Schooling her on how much I enjoy my... No, but I think that's important. You know, I'll happily work a Saturday or Sunday because I like to, not because I feel that shit's gonna, you know, melt down if I don't. Is, you know, I'll take that opportunity to, you know, line up a few social media things, or I don't know, like we're sort of rejigging our business plan. We're sort of starting to put Shoal out to investors, and Saturday is a great day to do that because, you know, you feel there's no pressure, the phone isn't going, you're not having to go to any meetings, and you can just sit in your pants and have Netflix up. And I don't do that at all. Usually we go to my fiance's office and we work there together too, and that's also great because we work off each other's energy, we're supporting each other, working the weekend, and that Monday isn't a Monday anymore.
Yeah.
Because every day is fair game. You can do what you want when you want, and if you want to take a Tuesday off because you've worked Saturday, great.
Yeah, you occasionally, Michael, like to quote the likes of profound thinkers Carl Sagan and Alan Watts, but it's kind of the idea that it's you're not doing it for the money, you're doing it because it's some part of something deeper. It's like an innate drive to just do something that you love to do, and you happen to kind of build the business of it around about that.
Should be about
so that every day is really, doesn't feel like you're working at all.
Yeah, and you put it a good way. It's possibly come from Sagan or Watts or some other profound thinker, but it's about and
do you want me to say it? Is it the music thing?
Yeah.
The music thing. There's
that wasn't it, but say that because that's probably better.
Is it? All right. What was the other one?
I was thinking of if you go out exclusively to make money, but you don't enjoy it, you're probably not going to make a huge amount of money. If you go out to change something or be fulfilled, money is probably going to roll in as a byproduct of the fact that you really enjoy what you're doing. It's probably.
I think thinking deeper on that, money's important, right? But if you're fully fulfilled by what you do, you're probably not thinking too much about money, regardless of how much is rolling in. So if you're doing whatever you want to do, walking your dog as an employee, you're probably not paid an awful lot of money, but it doesn't matter if you live in a place of joy every single day, which so many people be envious of. And so many people, I was saying at the start that I listened a lot to successful people or people that have built successful businesses. And all the feedback from that going through that journey is you're not going to be any happier when you've got all the money that you were once dreaming of. And I think a lot of these people reflect back as like I was having more fun building it, or I kind of respect when these people have loads of employees and it's their job to make their employees feel like they belong in the business and that they enjoy what they do. So I think there's as much merit in doing something and not worrying about the money if you enjoy it, and if you're getting all you want from life. That the quote I was thinking of was an Alan Watts quote. Alan Watts is a binge listen to Alan Watts, and it's that there's a thing, life is music. It's the point of a song is not to get to the end of the song. It's not about like, oh, come on, get to the end. Great, yes, I really enjoyed that. And that's how a lot of people live their life, and I think that's, really profound for me, anyway. And in our journey, I suppose, trying to enjoy it and remembering that this is actually really fun. Although we've not got the investment yet, we've not got the money rolling in abundance yet. Enjoying this bit of it is important.
And the money rolling in abundance isn't by any means the end goal. And if that ever happens, then that would be nice, but not critical. We always ensure that we have enough to live, and any more is a bonus. And that's. I used to be driven by the fast car, the nice watch, the big house. That was the definition of success for me, and I kind of I made a lot of my decisions early in my career to try and navigate towards those things. And now that when I left my job and we started Aura. Before then I was living off savings, and after then earning, I'd say, less money than I ever have done, probably since I've been in a working environment, including my first job after high school. And that was tough for a while, because I'm like, when's the Aston Martin coming in, or the Audi R8, or still living in a sort of dingy flat on Montague Street for a while. And it was I started to gradually change my perspective, and I'm so glad that I have done, because none of those things are on the horizon. And sort of we had a epiphany moment almost, where you were in.
I was on a Power of Youth trip, and if anybody's ever been on a Power of Youth trip, you'll know that it's an indescribable experience where you have some profound thoughts. And certainly on that trip I thought, actually, you know, say I did get an Aston or Ferrari or whatever, you know, would I actually be happy? And maybe I'm not so driven by that. I came back, I was like, Steve, I hate to break it to you, man, I don't want a Ferrari as much as I used to want a Ferrari. But do you know, the reality of that is that, yes, if I had the means to get a Ferrari, I would be happy, but it's not about being happy when you get that. It's about being happy on the run up. It's
not the end goal.
Off the back of what Steve's saying, if any investors are listening, it's certainly important to us to make money. It's important to me to make money, because I see what happens in my experience if you don't have any. In the society we live in, you have to have a means of making money, otherwise you literally lose the roof over your head. And if you can build something that empowers loads of other people to be financially stable and keep the roofs above their head and allow their kids to go to school and do all that, isn't that far more powerful than building something that doesn't sustain even the people that started it? So I think certainly it's not the driver, but I think it's very important. And we're at the very start of the Shoal journey, and it's you know, it's certainly not like, how do we make as much money out of everybody? You know, and I think organisation that comes to the front of any organisation that works like that. And we see what happened in 2008 when that sort of comes to a head. The whole selling off of bad debt and everything is purely driven by people making as much money as possible out of a situation. And look how that ended. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm really interested to hear your guys' thoughts on millennials. You're both a few years younger than me. I'm kind of, I suppose, maybe a fringe millennial, but I don't feel that I kind of grew up immersed in, you know, kind of Facebook and smartphones and all this kind of stuff. I was listening earlier actually to the famous Simon Sinek you know, conversation where he talks about millennials as tough to manage, entitled, narcissistic, unfocused, lazy. From your guys' perspectives, what do millennials want?
I think so. The Industrial Revolution totally changed manual labour, and the technological revolution is changing the sort of white collar work that our parents boomed in. Right, so that it was the time to be a lawyer and a banker and all these things, and technology is now catching up on that on these industries, and it's also learning how to engage a human brain more and more. So I don't think it's 100% their fault. Like I'd say that I would say that almost all my friends are addicted to Facebook, you know, and isn't that a game changer for a generation? You're born into being given a device like no other generation has before you. There's going to be a fundamental change in the way your brain works.
Completely, and this is a device that is designed on almost every level to be addictive.
And it's actually learning all the time how to be more addictive. So it's just a self-learning, just grabbing you more and more into its jaws, and that unfortunately is a very good way to make a sustainable tech company. We read a book, or reading a book, Hooked, and that is essentially all about that biological link between technology and how it works on a human brain. And so I think, what do they want? I don't know what they want, but
everything and nothing, in a sense, and that's just such a broad brush and an absolute, you know, sort of stereotype of a statement. But I think what Simon's sort of getting at is that millennials tend to want everything served on a plate, but they don't want to have to do anything for it, so that's the nothing aspect. But I don't know, I feel like that's too broad in every generation, before millennial generations and future generations to come. There's always going to be people that are expectant and expect life to sort of dole out everything that they desire, and then there's the other sort of side where people are honest, hardworking, and possibly entrepreneurial, who go out and are sort of crazy enough to try and change the world.
I think instead of, like, I'm trying to think what they want, like, what do they need?
Yeah.
Probably the tools to cope with the things that are distracting them from I'd say them. I'm probably one of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, do you identify with the things that are being said of the millennial generation?
Totally.
I'm so aware of my addictions to social media, so aware, and that's the part of the challenge really is, you know, first thing I do when the alarm goes off in the morning is wake up and I sort of check Instagram, and I'm scrolling for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes an hour after my alarm goes off. And I lose track of time, and I haven't achieved anything in doing that. And then I'm forgetting that there's a day ahead of me, or it's terrible behavior to be sort of pulled into that and forget life is there. But you know, it's
there's a problem that somebody should work on. Right, so that's a system that's flawed. Like, and maybe what we're doing, we've kind of got a goal of trying to change that a little bit in any way that we can. But if somebody's like trying to think of a business idea, think very deeply on addiction to social media, or addiction to technology, because I think the further away you get from human to human connection in the real world, I think the less equipped our biology is to deal with that, quite frankly. And I think we need more excuses to be connected in the real world, and more abstinence from technology.
On that. Sorry.
You're going to talk about porn?
No. Well, it might touch upon what I was going to say. It might feature. We went to a talk about VR recently, and what I took from it, kind of at the end, it was also leading to soon, in the sort of distant future, but not too distant future, we won't be able to tell the difference, or our brains won't be able to tell the difference between VR and real life. How exciting is that? And all I could think in my head was, why is that a good thing?
Stop.
We're already in trouble, you know, with our addictions. And imagine being able to immerse yourself in your any dream you want, your deepest, darkest desires, your fantasy, whatever it is, and always be able to tap into those, versus coming into reality and having to deal with the pressures of reality on occasion. But then, you know, they were talking about you'll be able to play football, basketball with your friends, and, you know, go out there and experience that. It's like, but
you could go outside.
All the benefits of playing football or basketball with your friends, except you don't get to go outside and get the exercise that we increasingly lack as well, and as a society. So I'm terrified personally about that prospect, but it's at the same time quite exciting technology, that the technology is going that way, and inevitably that's what's going to happen.
You ever re-watched The Matrix?
Recently, only a couple weeks ago.
Fuck! Oh my god! When I first watched it, I was like, cool, cool film. Didn't really get it.
Cool that Neo could fly.
That's well. How did you do that? And then I watched it again on a plane actually, and I was like sitting there like, oh no! Has anybody seen this? Like, whoever, like, I don't know if we can get this. Can we get this to the makers of The Matrix? Can we try and make that happen? Like, please tell us like where that thought came from, because that's what's going to happen, I think.
This is going back to the 90s, right? They were
you can kind of join the dots now as to why that would be a possibility. But back then, you think that's joining a lot of dots way ahead of where they were, and isn't that quite interesting way to live your life? And isn't it so true that we kind of tap into it already with a screen?
I know.
And we're totally addicted to them. So
isn't that a soundbite to promote this. We're in the Matrix. Fuck.
Yeah. And then there's like, are we already in the Matrix? You ever heard that chat?
Yeah.
What's base reality?
We probably aren't in base reality, according to many great thinkers, and I kind of maybe believe them. Which kind of lines up with all this sort of self-development, like you can take charge of your own reality and change anything at any time you want, right? And that's quite an empowering thought. And when you think about that construct of our current reality, it's like, well, actually, that's really interesting. So.
I like where we're going here. We're getting deep. So now is probably a good time to kind of address some of the larger kind of philosophical topics, which really the show is all about.
Yeah.
In terms of purpose, starting with you, Steve, what do you feel at this stage is your purpose or your why?
It is really deep. My why? It's going back to life, or music as a journey, or how does Alan Watts put it?
Life as music is not about the end or getting to the end. It's about enjoying it all the whole way through. It's about dancing.
It's about dancing. My purpose is to dance, Elliot. If you've seen me dancing, you'll know this.
I've seen him dance in his kitchen.
It's something to behold. I can do a mean attack by a swarm of bees and a sort of.
It's kind of art.
It's a bit of an art. It's like ironic.
It's like it's not beautiful, but it's kind of thought-provoking.
Because of that, it's beautiful.
Exactly.
I won a competition when I was a kid in school, primary school, for dancing, and my mum always says it's because they felt sorry for me. Anyway, so my purpose isn't to dance, but it's certainly to make the most of this opportunity. People sort of, Tim Minchin, he puts it beautifully. Somebody's looking at all the parts of life that don't really exist, the parts that human beings create sort of beyond life, or sort of, not even in the afterlife, but, like sort of mythology, and so on. And he just says, why isn't this enough? Being alive and having the opportunity to experience and the things that are around us that are in themselves just mind-blowingly amazing. I've sort of made my purpose a sort of conscious effort to appreciate even the smallest of things. Because once you start appreciating things, Tony Robbins, great quote by Tony Robbins, when you're grateful, fear disappears and abundance appears. And I love that. I think that's become my sort of purpose in my own life. And hopefully that can project outwards to others and into what we do and I do to start, rubbing off. And
What a cool answer.
Thank you.
I think dancing's better though. Michael.
Not if you saw me dancing.
Stick to trying to be happy, man. Don't dance.
I will.
You don't look happy when you dance.
Terrifying.
So it's a tricky one, isn't it? Yeah, trying to figure out exactly what your purpose is. I think thinking about innate things that I'm maybe good at. I come up with loads of ideas, and it's talking about this idea of like looking at systems and ways to improve them. I think I constantly analyse, trying to figure out what a system is. So if I look at, I'm by no means keeping my finger on the pulse of politics, but I kind of try and figure out at a high level what's going on and make my decisions based off of not day-to-day media updates on what this politician said about that politician. It's more like reality TV.
They're ugly people.
Well,
that's not my views. I just heard this quoted one time.
So I feel like my purpose, as a core purpose, should be, as Steve was saying, to be happy, right? That should be my core purpose, is to achieve some kind of joy. But I think practically it should be to pursue good ideas that might make a system better for other people. because I think I'm quite good at looking at these things. So maybe that's my purpose.
Yeah.
To create things that solve problems for other people.
I'd second that as well. I think one of the many reasons we kind of work so well together is Mike's an absolute powerhouse when it comes to coming up with good ideas. He blows me away all the time.
I didn't know you thought that, Steve.
No, it's true. It's true.
It's gonna start crying.
It's phenomenal. It truly is. And then once we have that, when we started Shoal, we had sat down. Michael had come up to my parents' place in Inverness over Christmas. It was just popped up, and they've got this great place just out in the middle of nowhere, and we used that as an opportunity to sort of think about the year ahead for us and sort of plan what that was going to look like. And we promised ourselves that we would focus on Aura because it was going so well and we had some great opportunities, and we just committed to that idea. Mm-hmm. It was 19 days after we had made that promise, Shoal started. And if it wasn't for like, Michael just sort of having that sort of realization that there was such an issue, and he, despite the fact that at that time you didn't intend for it to become a thing that might be global one day, just having that vision, that foresight. And I remember even we had a sort of brief conversation about something similar to Shoal, but it wasn't. And I was like, come on man, we've got enough to think about it. But you sort of drove it, and I'm so grateful for the fact that you did, because here we are.
Yeah, the thing is that, I always think the ideas are there's a conflicting, I've had a few conversations about ideas and how important ideas are, and I think ideas are very important, but they're just ideas, and they've been had a million times before. Like the original thought is very, very hard to come by if it exists at all. It's kind of, we can't really conceive how long humans have been alive for, and I think knowledge has repeated itself, and it's like rediscovering old knowledge, right? And there's a lot of new forms of delivery of old knowledge, and I think without people that complement your skill set, maybe you come up with an idea and you're good at sort of creative things, not having the technical sort of organized structural side to that, then it just remains an idea, and nothing ever comes of it. And I think there's so many things only ever get to an idea, and then nobody, and like Elon Musk and the Richard Bransons and all these people, visionaries, that actually believe that these ideas can become reality. I'm going to go to Mars. Oh, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, don't try and go to Mars. And then he's got this whole group of people together, put that together, and they're all like, yeah, we're going to Mars. We're gonna make this happen. And I think that is the really special thing, is that ability to connect the dots and make it happen. That's a real skill. But I think everybody's purpose is to first of all be happy, and that is the fundamental part of it. And our each individual purpose is how can we add as much value to other people, because I think you could quote Tony Robbins all bloody day.
He said a lot of things.
That secret to living is giving, right? But if you start to notice that, and like, who's truly successful and fulfilled, that often they're giving the most to other people.
And in return, abundance continues to flow to them. So they've got this continuous flow of abundance that they can pass down, and they're happy and fulfilled, so it can empower them to make others happy and fulfilled. I sort of off the back of a conversation I had in Desk Union, going back a while ago, I started I started in the morning when after I had done a bit of meditation, a bit of yoga, I would write down 5 things that I feel that I'm grateful for, and they could be anything from the fact that it was a particularly good bowl of porridge I had in the morning, all the way through to like just really profound stuff like being alive and beyond, And what I started to notice was in that list there was always somebody that I felt I was grateful for, and I made a point of if somebody appeared on my list, it could have been Michael, it could be my mum, it could have been my cousin. It started with my cousin, actually.
You might be there one day.
Could have been Elliot.
If I'm lucky.
And I don't do this as much as I should. In fact, I haven't done it for a while. But if somebody was in my gratitude list, I would pick up my phone and I would text them and I would say, "Hey, Craig, Mum, whoever, you are awesome, and I am grateful for you, of you for these reasons." And without a doubt, every time their response would just fill me with gratitude, because they were so grateful to have received this message somewhat out of the blue. And then they would reciprocate, and I wasn't ever looking for them to reciprocate at all, but they would. And then suddenly I would feel valued, and it was just such an uplifting thing.
It's something that my girlfriend does. I don't even know if she knows she's doing it a lot, but certainly she said that I quite like to do this. Is she pays somebody a genuine compliment. So she's always like challenging herself to find something about that person that she likes. And we were together the weekend there, and we were doing a meditation course, actually. So we're doing that, and that was sort of, gratitude was a big part of it. And I thought, I'm going to start doing that. Like, start going around playing a little game of trying to find what I like about whatever I like about the person or the place.
Is that why you said I don't look as scruffy as I usually do? By the way?
You're welcome. You're very welcome, Steve. You're very welcome.
Good.
Yeah, but you see people light up. So she'll say, "I really love your shoes." It's so simple. So it's very, very simple. Like today on the train, my first one since the weekend, the conductor gave a really good update. So when you're sat in a train and it stopped, and you're like, "Why the fuck is this stopped? Like, what's going on?" She picked up the thing and told us all what the hell was going on. So I was like, I'm going to do this because that is a really great thing. I really appreciate that. And when she was checking my ticket, I was like, I really loved your announcement, by the way. It's really, you should keep doing that. I really love the update.
Yeah.
And she went, oh, thank you.
It
made me feel good.
Yeah. Telling her.
Yeah. And I was like, it's kind of selfish in a way to get that great feeling from doing that. But what an amazing, simple little tool. I say Katrina does it all the time. And it's so simple and so beautiful. I think more of that for the whole of humanity.
Mary Phillip does that really good.
Does she?
Yeah, she's excellent. Every time I see Mary, when she leaves, I just feel awesome, and you know, it's always just a compliment. You know, I love your jacket or something. Sweet, thank you.
Michael Mary's just a legend.
Yeah, she's a legend.
Generally,
Well, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Great answer.
We're digressing somewhat.
Yeah, we got all the way there from purpose, I think.
Yeah,
going.
Great.
Good stuff.
Good facilitation, Elliot.
Okay, let's touch upon success. What does success look like to you guys?
Coming back to that, how important it is to be able to provide value to other people. I think very simply the ability to help other people quite effortlessly. Like, it's really easily done with money. You can help somebody out by giving them a resource of some sort. I think and a massive hoose. A fancy car, Ferrari FF. Yeah, no, to be honest, like I think just the ability to, at the drop of a hat, be able to do whatever I want for anybody that I want to do it for. I think that would be the peak of success. Don't you think?
Yeah, no,
like being able to do whatever they want.
That's brilliant.
That would be really great. And that sounds like you've got some kind of magical power, but maybe reeling that in a bit, just being able to help other people at the drop of a hat, monetarily or through resources. Yeah.
A couple things spring to mind for me. Warren Buffett has famously said that for him it won't be how big his account balance is when he dies, it'll be how many people attend his funeral. And that is just a representation of how many lives you've touched, you know, through life. And he feels that that's the biggest measure of success. And I suppose if you've raised a great family, a functioning sort of family unit and so on, then there's measures of success that can be taken from that. And I also love, have you heard of Chuck Feeney, a chap called Chuck Feeney?
I don't think so.
So I don't think anyone has ever said, yeah, I've heard of him when I've brought this up, but and for a good reason. So Chuck Feeney was heavily involved in the creation of duty-free in airports. And it made him an overnight billionaire, almost literally. Within a couple of years, he was a multi-billionaire, and he just couldn't comprehend the amount of money that he had. And he didn't particularly enjoy it. He stated, and because of that, he retained a significant chunk of money for his family to ensure that they were always comfortable. But it wasn't billions. It was, you know, a few million, maybe tens of millions, but a good number. Mm-hmm. And the rest went into a fund, a charity fund that he couldn't touch. As soon as it was transferred across to this charity, it was gone from his ownership. And he funneled, or this charity funneled his wealth that he had generated very quickly over the duration of his life. He's still alive, but it's been supporting education, it's been supporting research, it's been supporting all sorts of great institutions. And he said at the end of his interview, and I think he's done very few interviews because of the fact that he wanted to remain completely in obscurity. He just didn't want to be in the public eye, and he was found out, and he was almost forced into sort of coming into the public eye. And he did this interview. He said that he wants his last check to bounce, before he dies.
That's brilliant.
And that's cool. That's true altruism,
Absolutely. I like it. Great stuff. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I've been thinking about this one all day, and I still don't know.
I can go on this one.
Go.
I was asked this by Ewan, actually, our videographer. It was by I don't know where she got it from, but it was Debbie Beattie, who was and probably still is a coach, a personal coach. She moved to Aberdeen, and I haven't stayed in touch with her since, but she was based in Edinburgh. She told me that as I was sort of going through a sort of transition of trying to find confidence in myself, I used to be extremely sort of uncomfortable with my own abilities, and I was deeply unconfident because of that. And she told me that whenever I feel fear, think about that feeling of fear, how my body physically responds to that fear. And you got the butterflies in the belly, the sweaty palms, the shaky voice, and then think about how your body responds to excitement. Okay, physically, how does your body respond? And I guess if you're really excited and you have a big life event coming up or something, or you're getting in your car going to Disneyland as a kid, you have the butterflies in your stomach, you have the shaky hands, and it's the same physiological response. The only difference is what's happening here. So if you can train yourself to believe that your fear is excitement, it changes your perception of everything, really, when it comes to, doing something like this and having as many cameras in front of you as this and stuff. That was useful.
That's amazing. That's brilliant.
I think mine, I always default to a kind of way of thinking, and it came from, I think the origins of it was Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot. I always default to it because it's a good one. Yeah, when the shit hit the fan for me when I was 20 or something, 21, I was just like, oh God, how can I not be stressed? I'd touch my hair would fall out and everything. And I watched this video, and it's basically a photo of the Earth from extremely far away. They turned around a satellite and took a photo of the Earth, and it's just this speck of dust amongst like a sea of black, and it kind of defaults me to, actually, nothing matters. We're just ants, ants on a ship. Nothing really matters. Why are you stressed? And there's a there's a quote. I don't actually know where the quote's from. It's it all goes back in the box, right? So the analogy of a game of Monopoly, and you learn the rules and you buy all the hotels and you win, and then it all goes back in the box. But you go right back to having absolutely the definition of nothing, nothingness. Hee haw.
That's a great answer. It's funny. There's a quote by a chap called Dan Pena, and he says, "In the cosmos of time, you're nothing more than a fart in the wind." You know. And whilst you can put a pessimistic slant on that, I think the reality is, get over yourselves. It's not that important. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. that is my default. Like, actually, this doesn't really matter. In the blink of an eye, it'll all be over, and nobody will remember.
It's true. Well, I like to think that.
Well, we need to do something like, why would you want to be remembered in 1,000 years? You know, like, who's been remembered from 1,000 years ago? Like, it's
you, but
very few people.
Okay, so on that note, I'm going to forego, I think, the question about your 20-year-old selves, because frankly, you're both pretty young, and we can do that in another 10 years' time.
What is that question?
What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Oh, right.
But for just now, what would you like your legacies to be?
Relevant to what we've just been talking about, the fact that there's nothing and that you don't want to be remembered.
Well, why would you want to be remembered? Like, how long are you going to be remembered for? Like, if you look at it from the perspective of, like, one day everything will be gone, the people that remembered you will be gone. You'll be some kind of mythological, like, what did this man do? This carving in the mountain, what did he do? He built an app. No, that's never going to fucking happen.
But on that note, though, I think it would be incredible is if we were to create something that survives us, like Shoal or a version of it or whatever is the next venture. If we could pass that on and it to continue as an entity for much longer than we are alive for it, then that'd be freaking awesome.
That would be cool.
Curing the millennial addiction to social media.
Well, going back to the systems thing, if you can change a system and the change takes and it remains changed without your involvement and it outlives you, then that would be quite a great legacy.
Like the whole Henry Ford. Ford is still a major player, it's like almost an institution in its own right. Ford didn't start off going, though my cars will be forever in production, and I don't doubt they will. But that is a consequence of his vision in life, and that's an amazing legacy to leave behind.
If you guys could change anything in the world, what would it be and why?
A lot more pudding. No.
Pudding for breakfast. For me, education probably.
Okay.
It's really fundamental to the formation of all of humanity, really, and it fails so many people. I felt a little bit failed by education. I know it's such a complex system to look at, and there's so much politics and everything that goes along with it. But that would be the big one.
Steve?
I'm thinking about this as Michael's talking. I don't know if I'm fully qualified to answer, but I hate the idea of money. I struggle with it. It's the single reason for the plight of humanity, that we're on this decline and decay into our own self-destruction and the destruction of species across the planet, and sharks having their fins cut off, and rhinos having their horns cut straight off their nose while they're alive, all because of a man-made construct that doesn't really have any value. If we pull it back to our roots, and we're back foraging for berries in the woods, and we're sort of back to that hunter-gatherer sort of chapter of our evolution. I feel like, you know, I wouldn't want to go back to that, but you know, what was it's just like Inverness. Yeah. But what was important to us then, and it wasn't money. It's a valueless thing that we put a huge amount of value on.
Yeah, that's again, it's a really tricky one to come up with a system to change.
We need something. We need
deep
something that's like a token of, you know, sort of associated value.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Money does make sense, but at the same time, it's the sole driver for destruction and everything, and also it's the sole driver for a lot of happiness too. It's a crazy thing.
See if you change the incentive, do you think it's the money or the people? So if you changed it to, like, I don't know, something that isn't money, do you think that would become the rotten source of the bad decision making in the planet?
This is true, but money is a man-made construct that doesn't, you know, and you're right, it's, if it wasn't money, it would be, obviously before it was precious metals, before that it would have been...
It was tulips at one point.
Yeah, tulips, and at one point it would
like,
be...
shit, my money's dying.
Again.
Give you 10 rotten tulips for your fancy.
Yeah, your one healthy tulip. But yeah, so there's always going to be that element, but if I could change something, it would be probably our perception of what's really important.
I feel obligated to do the 20-year-old self question. Right, let's have let's do it in,
like 15.
Yeah.
Turn it back a bit.
Go for it. What would you say?
You think?
It's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've been extremely lucky in the life I've had and the decisions I've made, but there, you know, and everything has always been okay, but there's been certain times, I mean, probably I was speaking with my fiance Steph about this in the car from Inverness this morning, actually. A big piece of advice I give myself is to stop stressing so much in uni. Uni was a really difficult time for me because I just put too much emphasis on grades, and I did way better than I expected to in uni. I was really delighted with my achievements, but in the end I just felt it was a bit anticlimactical. I thought, is this it? You know, it gained me a job, but every person in my class got as good a job as I did, and I don't think it was worth it. I should have experienced life more in my early 20s.
It's a path you exited as well.
This is true, and now I don't use my degree anymore. So it was 4 years or 5 really. My 5th year I took it a lot easier, but the first 4, there's a huge amount of unnecessary stress for something that I now don't use. But I value the fact that I did go through uni and do everything I've done, because it's led me to this point, but I could have still been at this point without having to sort of jeopardize my health.
Yeah. Gee.
I think looking at the formation of habits, right? So probably don't eat sugar, please. Don't eat sugar. Start meditating. I know you don't know what it is yet, but start it. And everything that Katrina tells me, this, she's a massive advocate of this statement, everything that happens is perfect, right? So I wouldn't change anything, because I wouldn't be here. This is the climax of my whole life to this point, obviously. I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be sitting with Steve, I wouldn't be sitting with you, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I hadn't done joinery. So joinery was perfect. I wouldn't, if I had people that I got on with more, or not that I didn't get on with people, but if I really loved it, I'd still be a joiner. And then like what would I be doing within that? I don't know, it might have been as great. But you just never do know that everything is perfect, and I'm reminding myself that this is good advice for right now, and that the meditation thing and the sugar thing is fun for right now as well. But I think all these things are perfect. Everything you're going to do will be perfect.
That's brilliant. Absolutely love that. Guys, I've had so much fun talking to you. It's been brilliant. We've gone really deep. We've got a catalogue of some unbelievably good quotes.
We're going to just quote Tony freaking Robbins all the time. Yeah, that's so embarrassing. Scrub that out. We'll put Buddha in or something.
We're going to have an opportunity to watch this before it's aired and sort of take out some of the embarrassing moments.
There's some lip syncing of
we'll
some deep, better quotes.
But
of course, please give us an opportunity to interview you.
Okay,
that would be great.
Yeah, that would be great.
You're speaking to all these inspirational people, and that would be great, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
The return leg.
Yeah, totally.
Where Steve and I squeeze into that little chair. No, that would be fun.
I'll lie down. Like some sort of
exactly.
No, what's
I feel like nobody would want to watch that, and that's a really good way to end this.
Brilliant. Guys,
you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.